Hi everyone, and many thanks for joining me. If you are new here, hi, I'm Kat and I like to talk about crimes, investigations and all sorts of related things. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button below and also make sure you hit the notification bell so you are the first one to know about any new videos I upload. And for my returning subscribers and viewers, I would like to thank you all so much for the continuous support and for all those lovely comments I keep reading from you. Thank you. And today I want to talk to you about a really strange case. And this case is about the man who died from eating too much candy. But before we get started, here is the disclaimer. I do not mean to be disrespectful to anyone I talk about in this video. The video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. The information I collect is from the internet. I compile all this information and make a video, and from this you guys are more than welcome to draw your own conclusions. Thank you. Well, I'm sorry to break the bad news, but it's very true. This guy, he was a construction worker, right? I'm sorry, I could not find his name because he was part of a medical study, but this is a really bizarre case, very bizarre. So, he was a 54-year-old man from Massachusetts, US, and allegedly he ate a bag and a half of black licorice every day for a few weeks until he didn't anymore. There's this thing about black licorice. It's a sweet that you either love or you hate. There's no middle here. There's no between. And about the same thing as Marmite is in the UK. And by the way, I really do hate licorice. I hate Marmite. Can't even stand the smell. I'm sorry. If you guys like it, that's fine. You enjoy it. So, on this day, he's at a fast food restaurant, at McDonald's, okay? Probably he's just trying to eat his lunch on a break from work. He's relaxing, he's eating, he's enjoying it. He then gasps suddenly. He loses consciousness, he starts shaking and goes into cardiac arrest. This happened in January 2019, just last year. The ambulance was called and the first responders arrived at the scene about 4 minutes after he lost consciousness. They give him CPR, they even shock his heart 4 times and give him some medication including naloxone, often used to treat opioid overdoses. His mental status returns, but then his pulse stops again, which prompts the first responders to resume the CPR. He arrives at the hospital half an hour after his cardiac arrest, still unconscious. The case report says, and I quote, "The patient was unresponsive middle-aged man who had undergone mechanical CPR and had no external signs of trauma." End of quote. Doctors at the hospital incubate him and give him an electrocardiogram, ECG for short, a test which allows doctors to find and diagnose heart problems. So, I have to tell you guys, this man did not have a history of chest pain or heart failure. The man switched from red fruit-flavored twists to the black licorice version of the candy a few weeks before his death last year. He had heart rhythm and other problems. Although medical personnel managed to eventually get him out of that heart rhythm, he remained in critical condition. Tests revealed that he had abnormally low levels of potassium in his blood while elevated levels of potassium in his urine. He required a ventilator to breathe, had unstable blood pressure and went into kidney failure. Approximately 32 hours after he had been admitted to the hospital, the man sadly passed away. The following is a quote from Dr. Neil Butala, cardiologist at Massachusetts General Hospital, who described the case in New England Journal of Medicine. "Even a small amount of licorice you eat can increase your blood pressure a little bit." End of quote. Writing in the New England Journal of Medicine, Dr. Eliezer R. Edelman wrote, and I quote, "We are told that this patient has a poor diet and eats a lot of candy. Could his illness be related to candy consumption?" The doctors in the journal said that the glyceric acid found in black licorice was the man's killer. Dr. Edelman's diagnosis was metabolic, renal, vascular and cardiac toxic effects from apparent mineralocorticoid excess due to licorice consumption. So, if you love licorice, you need to know if it's dangerous, right? the NHS says that eating too much black licorice is bad for you, especially if you are over 40 with a history of heart disease or high blood pressure, or both. Consuming more than 57 grams of black licorice a day for 2 weeks can lead to serious health problems such as irregular heart rhythm, also known as arrhythmia, and high blood pressure, or both. The NHS also says, and I quote, "No matter how old you are, you should avoid eating large amounts of black licorice over a short space of time." And let's see what exactly makes licorice dangerous. There is a compound found in licorice root called glycyrrhizin, which is between 30 and 50 times sweeter than sugar. Glycyrrhizin can also alter your body's levels of potassium and sodium. The good news is, however, if you do experience raised blood pressure or fluid retention, muscle weakness or arrhythmia, and you stop eating the licorice, there won't be any permanent effects. Your levels of sodium, potassium and fluid should return to normal. But as an advice, you should still talk to your doctor about any of those symptoms. Dr. Robert Eckel, a University of Colorado cardiologist and former American Heart Association president, said, and I quote, "It's more than licorice sticks. It could be jelly beans, licorice teas, a lot of things over the counter. Even some beers like Belgian beers have this compound in it, as do some chewing tobaccos." End of quote. In the US, the FDA permits up to 3.1% of a food's content to have glyceric acid, but many candies and other licorice products don't reveal how much of it is contained per ounce. But let's see if the red licorice is dangerous. Funny thing is, the red licorice is not even licorice at all. Black licorice is flavored from the extract of the licorice plant, which is where the glycyrrhiza compound is found. Red licorice is made using other fruit or artificial flavorings and doesn't contain any of the licorice plant, which means red licorice would not have the same effects on you in comparison to black licorice, which means that the red licorice is safe for you to eat. However, any sweets or candy should always be consumed in moderation. Always make sure you check the label. Some products are made with anise oil, as the flavor is comparable to licorice. Of course, you need to check the quantity in the ingredients list as well. The quantity and also the ingredients, of course. But you know, this is not the only case affecting people who consume too much licorice. A 48-year-old woman from Sheffield, UK developed dull headaches, dizziness and high blood pressure for 4 months before realizing what's actually wrong. She was consuming 3 cups of licorice tea per day, 9 times the safe amount, doctor said. She developed hypertension and low potassium levels in her blood. As soon as she stopped drinking so much, her symptoms went away. She was lucky that she stopped in time and she saved herself. So, with Halloween just around the corner, what can we do? My advice, control your intake. If you really love licorice and you can't stop yourself from eating it, at least, eat in moderation. If you leave sweets outside for the kids for trick-or-treating for Halloween, I would sincerely and honestly advise you not to leave any of the black licorice, because we know that kids, they can't really control themselves when they have a bucket full of sweets. So if you really want to leave licorice, I would advise to leave the red licorice instead for the kids. As for you, you can always consume it, but obviously in moderation, not too much quantity. No one said you have to stop eating it, but just control how much you are eating, because it can really be very dangerous. As they say, in this case, less is more. And before I end today's video, I added a few links in the description below of a few products which taste just like licorice but don't have the dangerous ingredient in them. Instead of the glyceric acid, they actually contain aniseed oil. Many thanks for watching today's video. Take care and stay safe, and make sure that you watch that intake. Thanks again. Bye bye.